Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, July 19th, and we thank you for joining us tonight. We'll start our meeting by introducing you to your City Council.
Council members Starr.
Present.
Staley.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Kiley.
Here.
Neitzert.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Selberg.
Here.
Council, thank you very much. Appreciate that. In Sioux Falls, we start our council meetings with an invocation, and joining us again tonight is Pastor Randy Gehring with Our Savior's Lutheran Church here in Sioux Falls. We certainly appreciate your presence. What we'd ask you to do is to stand for the invocation and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. In the wake of so many recent tragedies in our nation and in the world, it has become commonplace to observe a moment of silence, an open space for prayer and meditation, an intentional mindfulness of the fragility of life, a corporate honoring of the lives needlessly lost. Perhaps the psalmist and an author from Indonesia offer the best use of that quiet time. From Psalm 46, "Be still and know that I am God." And from the author from Indonesia, "In the depth of silence, no words are needed, no language required. In the depth of silence, I am called to listen. Listen to the beating of your heart. Listen to the blowing of the wind, the movement of the Spirit. Be silent," said the Lord, "and know that I am God. And listen to the cry of the voiceless. Listen to the groaning of the hungry. Listen to the pain of the landless. Listen to the sigh of the oppressed and to the laughter of children. For that is authentic communication, listening to people, living with people, dying for people." Might we dare suggest that among all the duties and responsibilities of a civic leader, listening, being silent, is perhaps priority one. To reverently receive a colleague's opposing viewpoint, to authentically hear the joys and concerns of the people you represent, to recognize the maker of all things intricately woven throughout items on an agenda. And if the suggestion be made, might you be daring enough to follow it? Let us pray. God, in the whirring madness of this world, teach us to be silent, that we may hear your voice. Teach us to listen for the voices that are crying out behind the din of daily life. Teach us to approach the work you've given us with an openness to all, even to our opponents. Guide the work of this body and bless each of these, your servants, tonight and always. We pray this, trusting in your goodness and grace. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council will now move to our consent agenda. Any motions or changes to that? A motion to approve?
So moved, Erpenbach.
Councilor Box made a motion to approve. Seconded by Councilor Vice Chair Kiley. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thanks, Council. Now our regular agenda. Any motions on that,
Move to
Council?
approve, Erpenbach.
Second, Erickson.
Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to approve our agenda tonight, seconded by Councilor Erickson. If no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kiley,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing, Selberg.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0 as well. Thank you. Folks in the audience, we know it's going to be a full agenda tonight, a lot of topics, and we're very enthused that you're here. If there is an item that you wish to speak to later on tonight, we'd ask you to wait for that item. However, if there's another topic you'd like to chat about with the council or with the City of Sioux Falls, this is the time to do it. Just come forward, just introduce yourself to the people of our town, and please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Ms. Colby, welcome.
Robert Colby. Excuse me. Well, excuse me. Well, we're within the confines of these walls while we deal with things that are part and parcel of our little corner of the world. What happens on the outside of these walls is something that we, each and every one of us, has to deal with in some way, shape, or form, and it will help to determine our future, each and every one of us, and how we choose to deal with those events going on outside. But while we're in here, just a couple quick comments about some things that observations and notifications, or whatever you wish to call it. Hopefully the Parks Department will be out planting trees to replace the ash trees that we will eventually lose because of the emerald ash borer. It's in southeastern Minnesota, and I've understood that they may be as far as Omaha, coming up the Missouri. There are a couple of elm trees, however, growing out in the park at the Falls Park, and I would hope that the Park Department would not cut them down, but would nurture them, because who knows, they may be the ones that are immune to the Dutch elm disease and may become the progenitors of elms as we used to know it. Because when my wife and I moved to town, we bought a house. Well, after we were in town several years, we bought a house. We went from Colby's Shady Rest to Colby's Sunny Acres in 1 year. The Historical Society has had some problems with the Park Department, not big ones, but they claim that the Historical Society should be doing maintenance, which I understand, but when you have over 200 in this county, it's hard, no one goes around and inspects them, each and every one, and if the Parks Department would be kind enough to just notify us, we'll take care of the problem, much like the marker that was backed over in the park, and it was in the park garage for 2 years before they told us where it was. The Pioneer Marker monument up on North Cliff, 4 years ago I came here and made some comments. Well, the guardrail up at the end of the cul-de-sac is still bent, battered, and bedraggled after 4 years, and it still needs to be repaired. It looks like somebody went through with an 18-wheeler, hit it, and knocked it over, and it has not been taken care of and repaired. The Archives building made the newspaper today. Seems like I'm going to die before that eventually happens. Bob Jameson and I were part of the people who pushed diligently for this to be a thing that would be good for the city, county, and any of the other governmental entities, and that's now suffering from a quarter century of maybe we'll get it done someday. We need to make sure that when we build it, that we don't just build it for immediate needs or short-term future needs, because we will have to make room for all government papers and documents, historic papers and documents that people may wish to give to the organization, and that if we have an adequate place for digital storage, we not only keep the digitized material, but that we also archive all of the machinery that reads those digital formats. Because if you don't, it's like a wired a wire recorder. People have the wire records, but where do you get the recorder that plays it back? You can have the information, but if you can't read it, it's useless. And there are several things I would suggest when you're talking about your ambulance thing, that you would look at the old document that the city county put together when we were going through the ambulance wars some 25 years ago, and see if there's been any progress, and have we instituted all of those things that were suggested we proceed to do and implement. When we get outside of this, pay attention to the things going on, react appropriately, and remember, everything you do relating to that which is outside of this edifice will have an impact on our future for at least the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Colby. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Scott Erisman, Sioux Falls. I was reading some columns by Argus Leader reporter John Holt this weekend about claims being paid out to citizen taxpayers for damage to their property and other things. It would seem to me that the risk management department of the city of Sioux Falls has really angered God, because they say all the time it was an act of God. I guess it was an act of God when sewage was poured down the river to destroy crops. That was an act of God. When a fire hydrant blew up downtown and flooded Touch Europe, that was an act of God. God created that. Why is God so angry at us? According to the risk management department in Sioux Falls, God must be furious with us, because every time the city doesn't want to pay out a claim, they blame it on God. Here's the thing. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, we save money by not paying out these claims. Do we really save money by not paying out these claims? We have to hire attorneys to fight these claims. They cost a lot of money. They don't work for $20 an hour. The other thing is what if you were in this position? Sure, you're looking at it and going, you know, the SWAT team blew out the windows of a apartment building and they caught a criminal, so, you know, why should we have to pay them any money? Tough luck. What if it happened to you, though? How would you feel? The thing is our tax dollars go towards many things in this city, fixing streets. I could go on and on and on. This I look at as just another service to the citizens. If the city owns property that breaks and it destroys property, pay the claim. Sure, there's probably frivolous people who make claims, but they can be looked at very common sense wise and pay the claim. Why waste all this time on attorneys and not pay the claim? Getting tired of blaming God every time something happens. It's not God's fault. It's the person's fault. Pay the claim. I also was watching a story last night on KSFY, Mr. Charles Santee and his difficulties going down 41st Street. I think I addressed this council probably 2 or 3 years ago about the atrocious shape the sidewalks are on 41st Street. The #1 retail corridor of this city, and you can't even walk down those sidewalks. I challenge any of you to get on the sidewalk on the south side, walk from Minnesota Avenue to Louise, not in a wheelchair, on your feet, look forward and not down. You better be wearing knee pads and arm pads, because you're going to be falling down quite a bit. Why is it that we go after people with 8.5-inch lawns and cement pads where they're not supposed to be, but we don't force the #1 retail corridor in this city, those businesses, to fix their sidewalks? They're terrible shape. And try riding your bike along the curb. That's even in worse shape. You can't even ride your bike down that street. I see that he had filed about 50 complaints, and I hope that the city comes up with a plan. And I hope they make the businesses responsible for making those sidewalks repairable. We talk about the sales tax revenue being down, but you can't even walk you can't even walk down the #1 sales corridor in the city without tripping and falling in a crack. I feel for Mr. Santee, but I also feel for pedestrians and bicyclists too. I also hear that there's been some rumblings about changing public input. I hope that doesn't happen. While we're having a great debate in this country, well, not really, it's kind of one-sided, about the Second Amendment, the First Amendment is number one for a reason, to protect the public's right to air their grievances to this council and to other entities of government. If you plan on changing anything with public input different than what it is now, we will have a fun debate, much greater than Second Amendment debate that we're having. I say bring it on. And also, to close, still waiting for the Parks Department to give us our personal tour of the Midco Aquatic Center that I am helping to pay for. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Good evening. You'll have to forgive me. This is my first time at a meeting like this. My name is Vincent Don. I'm 24 years old, and I'm proud to be a member of the best little city in America. I'm here today on behalf of the construction on 12th Street Bridge. My parents run a business there, and they've done well for themselves over the last 9 years, but since the construction has started, revenue has dropped drastically. And if that wasn't bad enough, this morning they came to work, they opened up the restaurant, and then they noticed half their parking lot was missing. And then the parking lot of their neighbor business was also entirely gone, and their street sign was gone. Now I know that we've been getting some updates on the construction via email here or there, but there wasn't any notice from us or our property owner that, hey, we're going to tear up your parking lot and we're going to tear up your sign. Let your customers know. So we've been scrambling all day to figure out a way. How can we get people to come in? And I guess I'm here to address today is what measures have been taken, what measures can still be taken to help lessen the impact that the construction has on the businesses around that area. Because I know it's not just our business, but just that little corridor between Grange and I think West Avenue, where the bridge is, lots of businesses right along the street are suffering. I know we're suffering, I know the guy down the street is suffering. I don't know what else can be done. I figure show up, talk, let our voice be heard. Thank you.
Very good job, Vincent. Appreciate it. You did a great job. Folks, anybody else want to welcome?
Sierra Broussard, Sioux Falls. I'd like to thank the Argus leader, Joe Sneeby, KSFY TV, Kilo Land TV, for helping us get our message out. We are trying to educate everyone about the issues, and having the police and city keeping us safe is important. Also like to thank Bruce Danielson for his time, as well as Councilmember Greg. I want you to see what you see wrong in these pictures that I will be presenting to you. I did do grievances against these police officers to see where is it going to go to. And also, if we need to take it to another extreme of pressure within the chief of policemen to take action on these police, I will make sure that it is done so. So we have Black Lives Matter. Thank you, Council Stelly, for showing what is in your heart. Pay attention to these pictures. Transgender equality. Thank you for the police department, the lieutenant and sergeant, for giving me the permits to do it 2 weeks ago. Blue Lives Matter, 20-year veteran, posted a sign, Blue Lives Matter. The African-American individual and the white citizen is from Dallas, Texas, and Houston, Texas. Now here you come with Laura Hubbell's free donut event. Why is this event the only one where the police showed up at? So to me, that's biasness. If the police is going to show up to events, they show up to every single one of them or do not show up at all. These were demonstrations. They were also protests. For the city attorney, he has been returning my calls, but he has been dodging the media for quite some time. Mr. City Attorney, now that you're back from vacation, will you take my telephone calls? We will have concerns. We all have concerns, and hiding in your office does not resolve the problems we are asking about. No one wants anything to escalate, but by hiding from those of us who are asking for help, he only makes it worse. Mayor, as you see in these pictures, I did a grievance against these officers. I hope that we don't have to go to another level of escalating against the police here. He is your boss, and I encourage you to talk to Matt Burns about these police officers. They were on duty at the time, getting paid by the tax people, joining this protest. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sierra. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Tim Stanga. I hope you guys missed me like I missed you guys. I miss coming here on Tuesday nights. One thing I realize is you come down and you talk about different issues that not only involve me, but my children and a lot of people in Sioux Falls. Roads are number one that a lot of people talk about. So what do? We went out and we hired a firm to drive around on every street. And I'm not 100% sure, but I thought it was like $200,000. Did the public buy what they came up with? No. Because these people drive down these streets every day. And the same streets they drive down, they're worse and worse. When the city goes out and fixes potholes, I think them guys get tired of going to one pothole every week, because that's what they're doing. One thing I learned is being able to come in and talk and everything, you get a name. The mayor said one night that I'm one of the troubled five. I'm proud to be one of the troubled five, because the people of Sioux Falls need a voice. They need to be heard. And if that's what I get as one of the troubled five, I'll take it. But not one of the troubled five have ever said anything bad about Sioux Falls. We talk bad about the policies that are being drawn up by the mayor and some of the city council. We talk about the spending that is out of control from the mayor and some of the city council. So what I'm asking for is the public really to sit and watch this meeting. There's two big issues that are going to be coming up. You really got to watch not only the city council, but you got to watch the mayor, because you're going to find out the people that are here for the citizens of Sioux Falls, or you're going to find out some of the city council that are here for the mayor. And you got to remember, we got an election coming up in 2 years. People, you guys spoke this year, putting some good people on the city council. Well, 2 more years, 4 come up. And people, we can put 4 more good ones in there. And we can come in with a new mayor, and this city will be represented, not only by the city council, but the mayor will be representing the people too.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate that. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
I just wanted to, Bruce Daniels from Sioux Falls. I just got Sunday's paper, and I really enjoyed the work that John Holt, Jonathan Ellis, Joe Sneevy back here did, and also a lot of what the press, and I'm thrilled to see all the press here tonight. So the people of Sioux Falls really want to know what's going on in this room. And you guys have all seen it over the last few weeks, the last couple months, where we've had a lot of people come and want to be part of this room. And bringing in new council members has empowered the people to come in and talk, and there's a lot less fear of this room than I think we've ever seen. And so the people are going to be asking a lot of questions, one of them being what happened over there at the Quonset hut by the park with the boats. And of code enforcement and all these issues, and I really think that the city's going to be having to deal with some of these issues soon. And I really enjoyed the Sunday paper where we got to talk about the State Assurance Fund and how the City of Sioux Falls is abusing this fund. There are court cases that the city's been fighting that actually the settlements end up being far less than what it costs the City of Sioux Falls to deal with that assurance fund and the reimbursement and the way that the load that the abuse of this city has put on that fund. The county's having to pay higher fees just because the City of Sioux Falls and a couple other counties in the state have abused that fund. And one other topic I wanted to just quickly bring up was I really enjoyed reading about the mayor of Rapid City and how he's decided to open up his records so that we can now see what he's doing, how he's doing it, and we've opened up a new way of looking at the Rapid City government that I think we need to start considering doing the same thing here in Sioux Falls and quit hiding so much information. Thank you.
Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council? Well, very good. Thank you so much for your comments. We appreciate it. Item number 25.
Item number 25, new 2016-17 retail malt beverage license for JSM Investment Incorporated, Benji's Casino, 5022 South Marion Road, cup not required, pending permit issuance and final inspections per fire, health, and building services. 26, request to include video lottery terminals with the new 2016-17 retail malt beverage license for JSM Investment Incorporated, Benji's Casino, 5022 South Marion Road. Item 27, new 2016 retail wine license for Crown Gaming Incorporated, Crown Casino Central 2, 1721 South Minnesota Avenue, with conditional use permit 3084-2015 being approved on August 5th, 2015. Item 28, transfer of 2016-17 retail malt beverage license with video lottery terminals from GMJS Enterprises, JJ's Billiards, 309 South Elmwood Avenue, to JS Bar LLC, JJ's Billiard, 309 South Elmwood Avenue. Item 29, new 2016 retail wine license for JS Bar LLC, JJ's Billiards, 309 South Elmwood Avenue. Item 30, transfer of 2016 retail liquor license, including video lottery terminals and Sunday sales certificate, from M&J Ventures Incorporated, Red Eye Bar and Casino, 5013 North Cliff Avenue, to Red Eye Holdings Incorporated, Red Eye Bar and Casino, 5013 North Cliff Avenue. Item 31, transfer of 2016 retail liquor license, including video lottery terminals and Sunday sales certificate, from MJ Ventures, the library, 5108 South Marion Road, to Library Holdings Incorporated, Library Bar, 5108 South Marion Road. Item 32, transfer of 2016 retail liquor license, including video lottery terminals and Sunday sales certificate, from Our Ventures, Woody's, 900 South Marion Road, to Woody's Holdings Incorporated, Woody's Pub, 900 South Marion Road. Item 33, new 2016-17 retail malt beverage South Dakota farm wine license for Urban Archaeology LLC, Urban Archaeology, 126 South Phillips Avenue, cup not required, pending final inspections per fire and health. Item 34, new 2016 packaged liquor license for Vanguard Hospitality, Foley's, 2507 South Shirley Avenue. Item 35, new 2016 packaged liquor license for Vanguard Hospitality, Minerva's, 301 to 307 South Phillips Avenue. Item 36, new 2016 packaged liquor license for Vanguard Hospitality, Grill 26, 1716 Southwestern Avenue. Item 37, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Catering America Incorporated, Chef Dominique's, to be operated at Vance Thompson Vision, 3101 West 57th Street, for an open house on September 12, 2016. Item 38, special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for Stockyards Plaza Incorporated, to be operated at the Falls Park Horse Barn for a fundraiser on July 25, 2016, and to authorize publication on Friday, July 8, 2016.
Good evening, Jamie.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. I need to request a motion to withdraw items 25 and 26. The applicant called this afternoon and no longer wishes to move forward with this request. Item 27 is a request to add wine. This applicant currently holds a malt beverage at the same location. Item 28 is a transfer request due to a change in ownership. And item 29 is a request to add wine at the same location. Items 30, 31, and 32 are all transfer requests due to change in ownership. Item 33 is a new license request for an antique store located on Phillips Avenue. They're requesting this license for special events at their store. 34, 35, and 36 are new packaged liquor license requests. Each of these locations also holds an on-sale liquor license. And items 37 and 38 are special events. Many of the applicants are here tonight if you have questions for them.
Jamie, thank you. Could I get a motion to withdraw items 25 and 26?
So moved.
Second, Erpenbach.
Council Chair Rolfing's made that motion, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Council, any questions, comments? Councilor Erpenbach.
Question about item 38. Jamie, do you want to talk to me about why we're authorizing publication that already happened, or is that a typo?
No, the reason the publication had to be published on the 8th was to accommodate the 7 days in between the time that it's published and the time that you vote on it. This item was received late, but I had enough time to accommodate it by publishing the notice early.
I think you know how I feel about this. I'm uncomfortable voting for something that already happened. I guess, you know, I mean, we think a lot of people watch this and we think a lot of people know what we're doing, but there are a lot of people that still don't understand this liquor stuff is a big deal to this council. And I as much as I support this particular project, I don't appreciate not meeting the deadlines, but I will vote in favor of it. I'm just disappointed. Thank you. Thanks.
Councilor, thank you. Would you be willing to make a motion?
I would,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Mayor, I
Councilor.
would move to approve items 27 through 38.
Thank you.
And a second, Rolfing.
Seconded by Councilor Chair Rolfing. If there's no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council member Starr,
Yes.
Staley,
Yes.
Erickson,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Kylie,
Yes.
Nitzert,
Yes.
Rolfing,
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you, Council. Item number 39, please.
Item 39, a second reading, an ordinance approving the annual rate increase pursuant to the franchise agreement for ground ambulance service for the City of Sioux Falls with Paramedics Plus, LLC.
Good evening, Jill Franken, Public Health Director with the City of Sioux Falls. Again, item 39 is the ordinance to approve the annual rate increase for Paramedics Plus. The contract between the City of Sioux Falls and Paramedics Plus stipulates ambulance services will be provided without subsidy, and that the primary means of compensation will be through fee-for-service reimbursement of patient charges. In turn, annual rate increases will be the greater of 3% or the increase of the urban CPI for any given year. All rates and charges for services shall be approved by the REMSA Board, or the Regional Emergency Medical Services Authority, and the City Council. The CPI-U for the year ending May 2016 was 1%. Therefore, the rate increase before you is that 3% increase I stated earlier. Prior history of rate increases with the City of Sioux Falls in the previous employer or provider averaged 3.4% annually over the last 5 years. So over 5 years, we've, on average, it was rural metro at that time, received an average rate increase of 3.4%. Today, you're being asked to approve a 3% increase. The contract between the City of Sioux Falls and Paramedics Plus requires response time performance, equipment and supply requirements, appropriate staffing credentials, clinical performance, and approved medical standards and protocols, quality improvement, dispatch performance standards, and customer and community satisfaction measurement. Contract compliance, as we've discussed in previous meetings, is assured, and oversight is provided through the EMS Quality Coordinator, EMS Medical Director, the daily Pulse review meetings where they review all calls, quarterly case review, the REMSA Medical Board, and the REMSA Board. Contract compliance and quality assurance validates Paramedics Plus has met all the contract's compliance requirements. They request the 3% rate increase as stipulated in the contract between themselves and the City of Sioux Falls. Mark Postma is here as Vice President of Paramedics Plus. We also have leadership from the REMSA Board, the REMSA Chair. We have a REMSA Medical Board member here, and also our Medical Director for EMS Services. I think I recommend to you approval of this rate increase, and I believe Mark Postma would like to say a couple words.
Mr. Postma?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. So this is our first year here in the City of Sioux Falls, and we believe this past year that we have met or exceeded the expectations of what we could accomplish here. We provide, in regard to our response time compliance here, it's the highest compliance we have in our entire company in regards to what those levels are. In addition to that, for some that weren't on the council, our start was delayed due to pending litigation, and we had to be, we put back being able to start this operation in approximately 2 months. And this is complicated because ambulances are custom built. You can't go out down to a dealership and buy an ambulance or buy the equipment. Everything is custom built. And we performed. We flew additional people in here to make that happen. And this first year, although there's been some bumps in the road, we have met those challenges, and we're going to do better as we move forward. And I think the health department, Ms. Franken has went over those, and I think you are also given a report on those of the different benchmarks, including the American Heart Association Bronze Award, which first time and only operation in South Dakota that has that. So we would ask that you would approve it. It is a contractual, and we would ask that you would move forward with that. One other second item, the last meeting we were at 2 weeks ago, some public comment. I want you to know my job is to make sure that my employees are safe. As we speak right here, I got over 500 people providing EMS to people in different cities in the United States, including this city here, working along with your Sioux Falls Fire Department, working along with your Sioux Falls Police Department. Comments that were made in public forum, in my opinion, very strong words, and I would ask that this council use stronger discretion when people make comments about shooting public officials, specifically our employees, and I would ask that you would use stronger discretion in that area. Other than that, that is really all I have, and like I said, we would like to see you move forward with this. Any questions?
Mark, we'll have questions later.
Oh,
But,
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Jill, any other comments?
No, I think that should do it for what information I was to provide for you for second reading. Thank you.
Jill? Council, before I go to you, folks, this is a second reading, so you have the opportunity to engage the council on this topic before I go to them. Is there anybody who wants to talk about this particular item, item number 39? Very good. Councilors? Oh, okay. Mr. Ershman?
Scott Erisman, Sioux Falls. I know that you guys are probably legally bound to approve this contract, and I know there's been a lot of questions about why are we even voting on this if we have to approve it anyway. You know, that's a good question. But I will say there are some things here that you need to look at. Number one, you know, Jill Franken said it's splitting hairs, but she says we don't subsidize the Paramedics Plus. We do subsidize them through our fire department because we pay taxes that fund our fire department who show up and help them on the EMS calls. Then they turn around and bill the patient. So there is a subsidy there. And also, some of the concerns I've heard from people about the way that they bill their clients and how they show up and stuff like that. I think that really, like I said, you guys probably have to vote to approve this tonight, but I think there really should be a strong look at REMSA and overhauling the way that the data is being given to the public and being given to the council and what truly is going on. When you only have a couple people controlling the data, that's not a good situation. You really need to have more maybe electronic things in place so this data can't be controlled and make it look like things are going okay. And I also hope that Paramedics Plus tries really hard to get more mutual aid. And I also hope that they try really hard to pay their workers more and set up a plan to where that they have highly trained people working for them. I know this probably isn't an easy vote for some of you, because I think some of you would probably just like to say, no, I don't want to renew this contract, but let's look at it positively and maybe down the road figure out a way to make this more smooth so you're not have this stuff thrown into your laps and just being said, hey, you got to rubber stamp this, it's just part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Gary Myers, REMSA Board Chair. I just wanted to reiterate to the City Council and to the public that the REMSA Board and the REMSA Medical Board does support the work that Paramedics Plus has done in their first year of their contract, and does feel that the Paramedics Plus organization has met and often exceeded the expectations in the contract. So with a few stories that are out there and a few pieces of the puzzle that are still being worked on by Paramedics Plus and the REMSA Board does support the work that Paramedics Plus has been doing, and as part of the REMSA Board, we are the validation for that data. So as part of the process, we look over everything that is done within the City Health Department and confirm all of those things are validated. So that is the group of the REMSA Board and REMSA Medical Board as a group of volunteers that are appointed. We are that validation process for the citizens of Sioux Falls through that contract with Paramedics Plus. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Tim Stanga. I just recall a little bit of this when this was brought up. I think it started out as 4 ambulance services bidding on it, then 1 dropped out. City of Sioux Falls took the most highest of the bids. If I'm correct, and I'm just going off from the tip of on this one, but if you took 3% and you added it on to the lower bidders, the 4-year contract, the people that were lower on their bids would be cheaper than what they're getting now. And you just sort of shake your head. They just wrote a contract, and I'd like the city, some of the city council ask, they'd like to see the contract that they just wrote up with the Veterans Administration and find out why that's cheaper than it is for the citizens of Sioux Falls. And why is it that we want to have a 3% increase for the citizens of Sioux Falls to pay? What do we have to do? Subsidize it so they can make some money or show they're making money? I think this deal with REMSA, I think it has to be revamped. I was asked if Joe Franken worked for them. Well, supposedly she works for the citizens of Sioux Falls, but the way I understand, it's not quite that way. People of Sioux Falls do realize that anybody that does come up and they talk about the ambulance service, they are going to talk good about it, because these people, again, they're told the song to sing, and they're going to sing the song. People of Sioux Falls are not stupid. They're starting to wake up. They're starting to realize what not only the administration, but what politics is. Because really and truthfully, this is politics at its best. We think Washington is broken. This city, between some of the city council people and the mayor's office, is totally broken. And the only people that can put this back together is the citizens of Sioux Falls.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Hello, I'm Danielle Merrill. I just have a question for liability purposes. The Ion Kellerland special did kind of disturb me that they just didn't show up for the child that when they called 911. I have a question. So if they were to sue, would that be a lawsuit to the City of Sioux Falls, or would that be a lawsuit to the ambulance company?
And Danielle, this is a public input point. We'll certainly take your question under consideration.
Okay, you can't answer that question,
not
sir?
Not right now, but I mean, if there's a point, but your question has been. Thank you.
Yes, I would just.
Thank you. Do you have any other comments, Danielle? All right, great job. Thank you. Council?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Urbanbach.
It's been a motion to approve item number 39, second by Councilor Urbanbach. Councilor Urbanbach.
You know, Mr. Mayor, Ambulance Plus employees are our friends and neighbors, and many of them came over to Paramedics Plus from the previous provider. And the folks that are on the REMSA board, and I see some more than just the chair that's here. I see you here. These people are my friends and neighbors. These are people that are volunteering their time. They're highly trained. They're medical professionals. They're not just random people off the street. And they're helping us provide really quality service. They represent this city and they represent our citizens. And quite honestly, I'm absolutely appalled at the way these people are being characterized in public and in private. Don't appreciate it. I don't understand how people can stand up here and just trash these good folks. And I can't decide either whether people want cheap service or if they want quality service. And so I just want to say to my colleagues that I'm voting tonight in favor of quality service, that I know based on experience, based on not only as a citizen, but as a customer, and as a person who has some experience in the healthcare industry, I understand the rigorous quality that this organization has to go through, those standards they're meeting every day to look at every single thing they do. And ma'am, they're taking very good care of our people, all of them. Don't believe everything you read and don't believe everything you see on TV. I'm voting for quality, and I encourage my colleagues to vote in favor of this as well.
Councilor Neitzer.
Could I ask a few questions of Mark Postma, please?
Mark.
Could you remind us when the next pay increase is going to occur?
I believe it's annually. I believe it's an annual contractual arrangement.
Did the 2016 one already happen? Are we looking at 2017 yet? There's going to be two of them, as I recall.
No, it has not happened.
Okay. How long does a paramedic work under somebody else before they're let out on the truck on their own to be the lead paramedic?
Well, every single person is different, so they go through a regiment and a training, and then that training comes to an end, and they go through the REMSA qualifications to become a paramedic. So you may have an individual who takes 6 months, or you may have an individual who's worked for a paramedic for 10 years and can get through the training in a certain amount of time. But those qualifications, I'll remind you, are REMSA's qualifications in the City of Sioux Falls, and were clearly outlined in the RFP. And all we do is we meet those qualifications. And Dr. Luther, who I believe is here, oversees this process. So every single one is different, and it really depends on their training and how much background they have in EMS.
Are you familiar with something called an incident report?
We have incident reports in our operation, yes.
And when an employee fills one of those out, what happens to it?
Well, it depends on what kind of incident report it is, whether it's a medical incident report or if it's an operational incident report. An operational incident report would be handled within our own organization, and a medical incident report would be taken on by REMSA. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know the exact name of a medical, is it an incident report, doctor? Okay. Say that again? A matter of interest? The technical term is a matter of interest in regard to medical.
And that will go to REMSA for
That
review.
is correct. That is correct.
Are the paramedics involved ever interviewed?
Absolutely. Are you talking about a medical incident?
I'm talking about a medical incident.
A
Does
medical
REMSA
incident?
ever interview?
Absolutely. I believe by Dr. Luther. However, I will tell you, this is their process, not ours.
I'd be happy to have him answer.
Okay.
No, that's fine. I think what we will see in the medical or the matter of interest form that can be filled out, sometimes anonymously, but if it regards any matter of medical stuff, well, then that incident is looked at specifically. I will get the matter of interest form sent to me, and if it's a medical, we review the medical call in its entirety. But if you look at the quality in this system, it's multi-layered, multi-agency, and multi-discipline, in as much as I look at it, review it with Paramedics Plus medical director, and then depending on what the nature of the incident is, we will meet with that paramedic and review the call. This is all a collaborative process. And if there is an untoward outcome, that's something that is so far askew from our standards, then we will take action if it is with respect to the individual's skill sets or knowledge base or whatever it may be. We will take action to remediate that individual, again, depending on what it is, anything from just some training to removing them from the street. So there is a mechanism in process that reviews those, particularly with medical. That's taken very seriously, and it's under heavy scrutiny.
Has that happened since Paramedics Plus took over? Has anybody had any disciplinary action?
Not that I'm aware of.
How long has Paramedics Plus been running here?
Just coming up on a year, or just over a year.
Okay. May I ask one more?
Sure.
This is for Mark again.
Okay.
In the past year, are you aware of any paramedics working with an expired license in the city of Sioux Falls?
I'm going to have to refer to our Chief Operating Officer, Mike Bureau. So if a person has an expired license, we get notified by numerous, keep in mind that these individuals are licensed at several different layers, by the state, by the National Registry, or it could be as simple as their driver's license. So when we get notified, then we suspend. That's company policy. But to answer your question, Mike, you'll have to answer your question. Answer that question.
Certainly. At this time, no one within this organization is working.
Mike, could you just introduce yourself to the
Certainly.
people of our town, please?
I'm sorry, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike Bureau, Paramedics Plus, Chief Operating Officer.
Thanks, Mike.
At this time, no employee within the city of Sioux Falls or within Paramedics Plus has worked without any type of proper accreditation or licensure.
Not one time in the last year.
Not one time, sir.
What would happen if somebody was working with an expired license? What could be the sanction?
Counselor, if I can, the ordinance is about approving the annual rate increase. So I'm trying to get your line of question. Are you questioning the quality? I'm just trying to tie in what you're doing. This is probably the, I don't know, fourth meeting we've had on this. So if you could just help the people of Sioux Falls as well as the chair tonight.
Okay, I don't think
figure out what you're doing.
Okay, I don't think it's appropriate to share details, but I've talked to 6 paramedics and I'm hearing certain stories, and so I'm just asking questions. So
So like I said, we have over 1,500 employees in our company. When we get notified that we have someone who has an expired license, okay, and they all expire at different times. It's not one January 1 for all these people. It's everyone's a specific date. When we get notified, we automatically administratively suspend those people. But keep in mind, that someone could have their driver's license revoked, and we are not automatically notified. There's no mechanism that we currently
I am
have
not
to do that.
About driver's license. I'm talking about their EMT license.
Okay, and so we would have to be notified either by the state of South Dakota,
Mhm.
or from a paramedic standpoint would be from the National Registry.
Correct.
They don't, but they don't send us those notifications. But if we find out that happens, we would administratively suspend. And what we're telling you is we are not aware of anyone in this organization who's worked on a suspended license.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll provide information on that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Counselor? Thank you. Again, yes, Counselor Starr.
Absolutely. I think the thing that we're doing tonight is talking about contract compliance. You know, we have a $12 million exclusive franchise with your organization, and I want to apologize if you think that we've mistreated you, but we've asked some pretty tough questions because part of our responsibility as a council to make sure that there is contract compliance. This is a multi-leveled process that we're going through. We've heard some things. We want to go through that. We want to make sure that we have the best ambulance service possible for the citizens of Sioux Falls. Whether we can do better, I think no matter what the system is, there's always opportunity to make the system better. I think we've, again, asked some really tough questions, and I think we're getting those answers. I think our directors of, Director Franken's been more than willing to answer our questions, and I appreciate that, and I think the rest of the council does. One of the things that's still outstanding for me for contract compliance is the mutual aid agreements that are within the county of other ambulance services that are in the area. Have those been completed and on file with REMSA?
So we are working on mutual aid agreements. We have ones that are in place, and we continue to work on mutual aid agreements. Okay. But once again, I'll go back to public comment last week where there's folks that want to be reimbursed for mutual aid agreements, and in our industry, that is very uncommon that reimbursement occurs because it's both ways. We go out and help people, and other people come and help us. And in this industry, and I can speak from an industry standpoint, I'm the president-elect of the American Ambulance Association. Mutual aid agreements are usually mutual, and there are no binding dollars that move because we all occasionally do not have enough units to take care of a surge situation. So that is very uncommon to have dollars exchange in a mutual aid arrangement.
Okay. Is that consistent with all of the for-profit and the not-for-profit?
For-profit and not-for-profit and city-based services.
Okay.
Councilor Starr, thank you for that context.
One more. I'm throwing one more. One of the people who had done public input here just a minute ago asked about why is the VA contract cheaper than what the citizens of Sioux Falls are paying? And I guess, can you give us a reason why that contract was bid at such a lower rate than what we're charging the citizens of Sioux Falls?
Absolutely. So you have the VA, who is a payer, and the VA will pay us the rate that we bid 100% every time we transport. So we will be paid 100% for those transports. With the City of Sioux Falls franchise agreement, we bill all patients. Some people pay us full, some people pay us half. Medicare pays about 30-some%, Medicaid probably 10%, and we have patients who never pay us anything. So it's a combination of all those together, and if everybody paid, we would have a lot cheaper ambulance rates.
Thank you.
And Councilor Starr, I want to thank you for your context. You know, the contract compliance argument or reason for the questions makes all kinds of perfect sense. So thank you. Mark, thank you. Mike, thank you. Councilor Staley.
We want to have a fabulous ambulance service in our community. And I think the public looks to the council, even though I know we're talking about a contract.
Councilor Staley, do you need Mike and Mark?
No, I do not.
Thank you.
No,
Sit down. You bet. Thank you. Councilor Staley, my apologies.
But we have been getting a lot of feedback from the public about the ambulance service. And I'm going to be voting yes tonight, but I'm somewhat reluctant about that. We don't have a choice in this because the contract has been negotiated. We've been told by the city attorney that we have to approve this, which in itself is problematic for us moving forward when we have contracts that we're signing off on and we don't have any input into the context of those. But there's three things that I have a concern with that I'm hoping that this will be reassured as we move through this year, as you said you're going to do. The first thing is that we make sure we have a wonderful work environment for the employees in the ambulance, driving the ambulances. I've heard that the morale and the morale is low, the salaries are low. Maybe that's not true. I haven't really been able to get the information on that. Availability of ambulances in all parts of our city has to be there. People have to be assured that when they call 911, an ambulance will come. And the third thing that I'm concerned with is that we need to have more willingness to allow other ambulance companies to help with the non-emergency transport. We're talking about those mutual aid agreements. I think our public wants to know that we have backup in case of a catastrophe. Going forward, I'm going to say to the public that we want to hear from the citizens, we want to hear from employees. As we move forward this year, let's work to ensure that we have the greatest accountability and the greatest service for our citizens.
Councilor Staley, thank you. Just a point of clarification, the council does approve the contracts, Councilor, so you do have the ability to make changes or recommendations.
Well, that's not what we were told by the city attorney. We can't change this contract.
No, we already approved it.
It's been signed, Councilor. Council Chair Rolfing.
And I would point out, I think, too, that there is a way that this contract could be changed, and that is if Paramedics Plus was in non-compliance with the contract. And that's why this group has the vote on it each year, to make sure that they are in compliance with the numbers that we have and that there are no big problems. And then we could do something. But when we do not have, or when they are in full compliance, in fact exceeding it, therefore we need to go ahead with this.
Very good. Council Vice Chair Kiley.
Just a couple of questions, quick questions for Director Franken.
Jill?
Once again, can you just simply affirm that the current provider, Paramedics Plus, has met the needs and the requirements of the contract?
Yes, they have.
And also, have they performed above and beyond that of the previous provider?
Yes, they have.
Okay, and then thank you very much. And Mark Postma and Mike Bureau, if I could just ask a quick question of you.
Councilor, you need them both?
I think so.
Okay.
And gentlemen, since you have represented Paramedics Plus here this evening in previous meetings, can you once again state that you are committed to improving the service to the citizens of Sioux Falls?
Absolutely, 100%, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I know that's the purpose for all the questions the last few weeks, that we do want to have the best service possible for the citizens of Sioux Falls, and I thank you for that commitment, and I urge my fellow councilors to vote yes on this item.
Councilor Erson.
Thank you. I would echo Councilor Kiley as well. And, you know, there was a few months ago where I had a constituent contact me and had a concern. And I called Director Franken, and she immediately said, let's sit down and talk. And myself and Councilor Karski sat down with Mike Bureau. And during that time, we came up with solutions to some of the issues that took place. Some of the suggestions were offered by them, some by Councilor Karski and myself, and we saw change, which was very important to us to see that they were receptive to what we wanted to see happen as well. You know, it's unfortunate how some of this has played out, and I am hopeful that you will continue to be receptive to suggestions from the council as well as constituents, as we know it's a learning process as we move forward, and you are new to the community. So I just thank you for being here and answering some of the questions as well, and we look forward to improving the service alongside with you.
Councilor Selberg, before I go back to Councilor Neitzert, any additional comments? You don't have to, sir. I just have to, before I go back to him.
That's fine.
Councilor Neisser.
I guess in closing, I want to say that I'm somebody who likes to collect evidence. I like to do my due diligence. And as this was going on, I was hearing two polar opposite things. I was hearing these doomsday scenarios on one side, and then I was hearing everything is wonderful. So I was trying to figure out, where does the truth lie? And I figured it's probably somewhere in the middle. You know, no service is perfect. I don't think it's near as bad as what some people are portraying. So I reached out, and I talked to 6 paramedics. One led to another, which led to another, which led to another. And I spoke to each of them for 1 to 2 hours, minimum 1 hour. And they really opened up on the condition of anonymity. And it was wonderful because with 6 different people, it helped to balance out some of the extremes, but it also helped to confirm certain things. There are some issues, I think, internally, and I heard a lot of passion from these employees. I mean, they really want to do the best job that they can. And I think this level 0 thing was totally overblown. Level 0 is not the issue. There's other issues. And that's why I'm just asking questions, because I want the citizens to be safe, and I want employee morale to be the best it can be. They did express concerns about employee morale. Training, some of these things that are going to lead to some of the quality that we're going to have. And they shared some things, and I'm not going to say them publicly. I'm going to share them with staff because that's the appropriate thing to do, and I'm sure that they'll take action. But I can't ignore some of the things that I heard. That being said, this is a contract. By law, we have to approve the rate increase. And one of the things that they talked about was pay. This will help to go towards their pay and increase their pay, which is low. But to be fair to Paramedics Plus, pay is low throughout the industry, and Paramedics Plus has been increasing pay here to their credit. So I'm going to support this, but I'm just going to still be asking questions. I just want to make that clear.
A roll call vote, please.
Council Member Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Neitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Thank you. And Mark and Mike and your team, I want to personally apologize to you, your team. I should have been much more cognizant and much more diligent during the public input part of the meeting last week. After the meeting, I had council leadership discuss it with me, and certainly after hearing your comments tonight, I failed, and I truly apologize. I will do my best to listen more intently so that this doesn't happen again. But again, with all the things that have been going on in the country, I think the people of Sioux Falls have to understand these folks are called first responders. So they are in the same category as a police officer, as a fire person, and as again, a first responder. So, anyone who threatens them with shooting or anything like that is completely inappropriate. Again, my apologies to you and to your team, and Council Chair Rolfing, my apologies to you and the council as well for letting that dialogue to take place at all. Council Chair Rolfing, I apologize.
Thank you.
Item 40, please.
Item 40, a second reading. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the city, repealing ordinance number 36-16, authorizing the issuance of its sales tax revenue bonds and other actions related thereto.
Councilor Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council and citizens. Today we have an opportunity to pause and to continue to move this discussion forward. We want to work with the administration, and we look forward to that opportunity. Today is a chance to start with a new plan, to stop the clock, simply stop the clock. Regroup with a fresh start, with all entities in mind, the city, the county, and the state. Around a table, we can do this together. This is not shutting the door. This is simply starting fresh and addressing the needs of all entities together. We are currently not out of space, and we have the time to do this right the first time. I'd encourage my counselors to continue to move this conversation forward and set the tone that we want to regroup and start fresh and collaborate together with one another.
Councilor, thank you. Folks, this is a second reading, and because of that, you again have that opportunity to engage the council before I turn it over to the council for their dialogue and then ultimate decision. Is there anyone who wants to speak to this item, or I apologize, Sue. I suppose, yeah, we probably should let you speak before I go to the public input. Sorry, my apologies. Folks, we're still not in the public input portion. My apologies. Sue, please go ahead.
Good evening. Sue Kwan-Beck-Etten, Director of Central Services. I'm here just to give you a very brief recap of this project, the City Administrative Office Building Project. The problem we're trying to solve is this. We are out of space. We have teams that are split up, which is inefficient. We are leasing space, and we have no room for growth, and that is the problem we are trying to address. We have been doing due diligence for nearly 10 years. A formal space needs assessment was done with the prior administration in 2007, and we did our own in 2012. We have researched alternatives for a 3-year period from 2012 through 2015. We have done everything we can to maximize the space within City Hall. We did renovations in 2014 and 2015. And we arrived at the conclusion that what we need to do is to build a new building. We presented this as our recommendation to the council in April of 2015. We worked through the summer doing a formal RFP process to find an architect and to find a construction manager at risk. We worked through the winter months, creating the design and our project budget for this building, which we presented to the full council in February of 2016. We have been working hand in hand with the council on this. To sum it up, owning costs less than leasing. We have been leasing since 2013. The building plan that we have come up with is the right size for now and for the future. This building will meet our needs now and 50+ years into the future. We want to build it right the first time. We have a track record of building with quality materials that will last. We don't want to have to come back in 10-15 years to replace the roof or the HVAC system. We believe that a quality work environment is essential. In this tight labor market with low unemployment, we really need to have decent workspace to attract and retain good quality workforce. Ultimately, city government is not going away. We need to plan for the future. We have been talking about space needs for the last 10 years. We put together a solid design and we're ready to go. Costs are only going to go up. We all know this. Currently, we have locked in prices for the cost to build, but the guaranteed prices will go away if this project is stopped. And as I said, we have been working hand in hand with the City Council for nearly 2 full years to address this need, answering questions along the way. The Council voted to purchase the bonds this fall, and we would ask you to support that decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Folks, now I am going to go to public input. Please just come forward if you want to talk about this particular item. It's probably the same things apply. Just tell us your name, please. Keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. And then there is just one other little caveat when we go to second reading. We would ask you, if you can, to try to find a way to not repeat some of the comments that have already been made. Again, just really appreciate you being here, and again, good luck. Yes, Scott, welcome.
Scott Eversman, Sioux Falls. Before I start talking about the building, I just want to remind the council and the mayor, I know that from this last item we talked about, there's always two sides to a story. Let's always remember that, and let's not always take one side and make a decision, or the other. Listen to both sides. Anyway, I hope you do that tonight with this also. I noticed these letters sitting over here on the table from the state, Minnehaha County, and Lincoln County. They pretty much all kind of say the same thing, that they're open to discussing any kind of space needs, but they really weren't sitting at the table when we were all planning this, were they? As for this discussion about how we've been talking about a city administration building since 2007, geez, I was surprised to hear that. It's been, Sue just brought it up, the mayor's brought it up in the news. We keep bringing this up. 10 years we've been talking about building a new building. But, you know, after the municipal election where the Spellerberg outdoor pool was voted down, about a week after that, we were gung-ho on building an aquatic center. Nobody talked about an administration building. We got about $18 million of a levy bond repayment on some levies. Great money to go towards infrastructure. Nobody talked about building an administration building. We decided that we were going to cash that money and call it cash and build a pool with money that was in the bank account with reserves. And now we need an administration building that we need to bond for. So where was the talk of the administration building when this pool was needing to be built? There wasn't. It's kind of like the railroad project. The railroad project was going ahead, and then all of a sudden when these people wanted a downtown event center, nobody wanted to talk about the railroad project because it would provide perfect parking space for a downtown event center. Administration buildings the same way, kind of got shoved in a drawer until we got this pool built. And now all of a sudden, we've been talking about this for 10 years. But we didn't talk about it when we were building a pool. It's a waste of money, period. There's no other way to look at this. We don't need another building. There's so many empty city buildings right now that we could put office space in. It is a gigantic waste of money that is purposely being built, in my opinion, to make some contractors and some bond salesmen a little jingle in their pocket. I suggest you repeal this and look at using existing space in our city. Thank you.
Folks, anybody else want to engage the council on this topic?
Jim David was going to come up and run the machine. Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry.
Mr. Dennison, go ahead.
Bruce Danielson, Sioux Falls. Probably don't know what this building is, but this is the Jefferson County Administration Building, courthouse that was built out in just outside of Denver. And I saw this building being built, and I wondered what this monstrosity was. And so Jonathan Ellis put it in his article this weekend about wasteful decisions surround new building. And he brought this back up as a reference as to what happens over time, and especially with following elections when these type of wasteful buildings are built, and when everybody that was running for re-election that year was defeated because the citizens of the county were so upset by this monstrosity. So I just want to throw that in as a word of caution in the whole thing, because what he also said in the article was that the elected officials were just tone deaf to what the people were actually asking for. Scott brought up the 3 letters that were over there, and we've never seen, no matter what anybody from the city administration says, we've never seen any kind of cooperation that could be considered real cooperation with the other governmental bodies that reside in this town. We have that issue, and then we also have one that I think is really important that was brought out in the paper, that's circled in this headline, was by hiring the contractors to do any kind of space needs study on any other building. And as much as I like a lot of the work these individuals do, that is just such blatant conflict of interest to somehow get somebody to come in and look at a building. And if you look at the video that we put up on SiouxFall.org or on South Dakota, on the testimony from this last week, I went into the building and I actually did the measurements myself and saw a lot of what was being said in there, and it's absolutely totally wrong. That a lot of the things that were said in there were said in conflict with what their original stated goals were. And the last thing I want to remind everybody, about 15 months ago, on April 14th, 2015, I was personally assaulted by a member of this administration when I was here for an actual event that I was part of, and it's requiring dental work, and I was injured because I'm here trying to bring this stuff out in public, and that was minutes after this presentation was made that I was struck on the back of my head and was injured. And I'm not going to forget that. Thank you.
Folks, did anybody else want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
Tim Stenga. One thing I found out, just because somebody's more expensive and somebody's cheaper, doesn't mean that you're not going to get the best care and the best quality out of any kind of an ambulance service.
Mr. Stenga,
I'm just going to say
you got to stay focused on this topic, please.
I'll stay
Thank
focused
you.
right now,
Appreciate
sir.
it. Thank you.
Last time I was in on the meeting, on the first reading, we brought in the builder and we brought in the architect. Do you think the builder and the architect are going to say anything good about a used building? Because they don't make as much money on a used building. They make more money on when they build a new building. So it's just amazing that we bring in 2 people that really and truthfully shouldn't have been brought in to begin with. And well, again, people of Sioux Falls, you do realize why they were brought in. One thing I realize is we got to look at our wants and our needs. Do we want a new building or do we need a new jail? Not a hard one to figure out. 5 o'clock news, they came on TV and they stated that they wish that they could work with the city, where the county and the city could work together on being able to come up with a new jail. We got people that are sleeping on the floors. Wants or needs? Do we need a jail? Probably three-fourths of the people that are put in jail, where are they from? Sioux Falls. Do we put 1 dime towards the jail in Sioux Falls? Out of the city money, out of the city fund. I don't know if we do or not. I really doubt it. But it's too bad that the city and the county can't work together to be able to figure out what we want and what we need. I agree with Christine that we, one, should reconsider what's being done, because I don't believe that this building is what we need. It's what we want. And if it's because we want it so we can put our name on it, that's the wrong way to do it. And again, people of Sioux Falls, you got to watch what's going on, because this is money that is going to be spent for a long time. And if we're talking about we're going to get people to show us how to build a building and we're going to build it that it's going to last, look at the event center. Look at the quality. I sat and watched that siding being put on the event center. I talked to 2 of the city council people and had them go down and look at it. And they told me something just doesn't look right. But see, that's quality. That's using quality products. That's using quality on putting that in. But see, that got all put underneath the rug because it's all a secret. The citizens of Sioux Falls have to realize there's a lot of secrets out here. And you got to remember, if we're going to go at the same way we built the event center and you go at management at risk, anything that goes in or anything that changes on this new building just goes through the mayor. And look at what we ended up with the event center. It looks worse every day. But see, the sad part about it is the people of Sioux Falls, we can't follow back on the emails. We can't follow back on when this contractor came up to the city and stated that, wait a minute, this event center, this siding don't look right. But see, that was an election year. And if it didn't get done on the right time, nobody would get their kickbacks. I think the citizens of Sioux Falls should realize what kind of kickbacks we're really given.
Councilor Staley, or
so I guess
Tim,
the thing is
Tim,
I believe
Tim,
that it shouldn't be
Tim,
done.
I've been asked by Council Chair Rolfing to discontinue your conversation. Councilor Rolfing, because the attacks were against me, I just let him go. But thank you. Yeah, thank you. Folks, my apologies. Is there anybody else who wanted to engage the council on this particular topic? Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Oh, absolutely. Yep. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
My name is Rana DeBoer. I'm the Workwell Manager at the City of Sioux Falls and Human Resources. I oversee employee training and development, well-being and health, and workers' compensation and safety. I've worked with the administrative building project team to ensure that the citywide goals of health and safety have been supported through the design of the project. A few years ago, CEO at IBM interviewed all of their worldwide folks and asked them, what are the most important traits in your workforce, in the workforce today? What do we need the most? With resounding results. They need teams that can collaborate. They need teams that can communicate, that can be flexible, and can be creative and innovative. Fostering these traits requires new thinking and some new strategies. Organizations must create work environments and a culture that allows those traits to thrive. Steelcase is a major manufacturer of office furniture. They have done extensive research on this topic and just a few years ago produced an amazing report that shows us some of those essential components to make those 4 things thrive in our workplaces. Those traits really help us to produce good health and productivity and performance in our people. It is a busy, busy organization. We are a growing community and a growing organization. To make those things thrive, we want to focus on our work environment. We want to allow our employees to be and do the best that they can. And that has a lasting impact, a direct and lasting impact that goes farther than the walls of our city. It extends out into our great community. Several of those components that Steelcase talks about were included in the design of the proposed administrative building. For example, adequate natural light to keep our minds bright and connected to nature. Open, collaborative workplaces that allow teams to have the room to move, to connect, and to make good decisions. A design that encourages and promotes physical activity, things like on-site locker rooms and bike-to-work amenities. And remember, activity, physical activity, is that big, big driver and stimulator for cognitive thinking. That's a positive work environment. Today, People are expecting to find those traits in a workplace. And you'll find that many businesses in our community have embraced those strategies. The city prides itself on being an employer of choice, and creating positive environments where our people can grow and be their best and extend that out into our community is of the utmost importance. So I thank you.
Thank you, Rana. Folks, anybody else? Welcome.
My name is Dennis Bresky. I'm with NAI Sioux Falls, and I'm here to help the 300 building ownership with a kind of a different angle on the 300 building. And first of all, I want to thank you all for your service. I don't work a lot with City Hall and City Council, but in interacting with all of you a fair amount over the last few weeks, you do a lot of work and appreciate it. And the city's a great city. I kind of came up with a different angle that I wanted to present tonight as quickly as I can here after I got a call last Thursday from the folks at Henry Carlson. They wanted to meet with me to kind of sit down and discuss things and compare notes and try to clear the air on what's what. I had numbers, they had numbers, and so we did. We sat down at my office Friday morning at 10:30 and met for about an hour, which gave me a much better understanding of the scope of the project, and that's really where we had our main differences, is that I have one scope in mind, and they have another scope in mind. And it helped me understand a lot of the differences in the estimates that I had and the estimates that they had. So after that conversation, I really thought about things and just really tried to focus on some of the comments I got from other councilors about what the city needs. The city needs office space. And I think about the 300 building. I think it's an awesome building for the city because of its location. It's a good, solid building. I still feel very strongly it would be a good building to purchase. I understand a lot of the concerns and issues, and they're justified. But there's always different ways. It's very unfortunate that we have 10 1/4 inch treads on our stairs instead of 11 inches. They're very functional, but they don't quite meet code. Hopefully there might be a way around that. But through all of that, what I did is I started to step back and just look at what would it take if we could just step in as the landlord and provide nice, clean, new, totally remodeled office space. At what price could we deliver that? And so I actually put together a proposal that I've gone over with Danielle and with Todd Broyne, the owners of the building. And it would feature up to 44,000 square feet of space, which would be the first floor and the second floor. We could deliver it, I just guessed, at April 1st. Rent would commence upon occupancy. We would deliver this building to the city, turnkey, no money out of pocket for the city. I'm anticipating about $2 million worth of investment from the landlord. For that, they would need a good lease commitment, a 10-year lease commitment. We feel that $18 gross would be a rental rate that would give the landlord a good return on their base, let's say the as-is price, cover all the utilities, cover their investment in remodeling the space. So it would be a total gross lease. Taxes, insurance, utilities, snow removal, lawn care, everything is included. So that comes out to $60,894 per month. The operating expenses, as I mentioned, are all included in there. You would have renewal options to renew. You'd have a right of first refusal on any adjacent space or space above you in the building, and you'd have an option to purchase if you get in there and you like it. That, of course, would go up from the original price of $6 million. If we put $2 million into it, that price would jump to $8 million. But I'm pretty confident, based on even the DocuTap tour, where they completely finished off their space for $50 a square foot. That's kind of the number that I'm using. This offer would be contingent upon the city and the 300 building owners working together to come up with a plan where the space could be remodeled for that amount of money, although if it costs more, we could simply do that, have to increase the rate a little bit. But the scope of the project would have to be more in line with just providing nice, clean, functional office space, not a lot of the changes that were discussed with Henry Carlson there that they were asked to bid on. So I prepared, just to kind of roll this through in my mind, I prepared an analysis that shows, as best as I could estimate here with the information that I had, kind of the cash flow. I'm about cash flow. What's the money out of pocket on a monthly basis? So I met with Rex today and talked to him about this whole thing. He helped me hone in on 21.9 million would be the amount of the bond. 2.75%, I believe, is the city's cost of money. I use 20-year amortization. So given those terms, your monthly debt service would be, I might have to get my glasses on here, $118,000, I believe.
Dennis, you're at about 20 seconds.
What's that?
20 seconds to go.
Okay, 1.4 annually. The difference is $65,000 a month between renting and making the mortgage payment. Just wanted to pass that along.
Dennis, thank you very much. Is there anybody else who want to engage the council on this topic? Welcome.
Honestly, can't believe I'm getting up here, but Jeffrey Schmidt, City Planning Office. I've sat here all night and I've listened to everybody talk about morale and customers, and you read about it in the paper. I don't know if anybody's really from City Council talked to city staff, so I'll just talk about my personal experience. I don't know if anybody's actually been to my space. So our space floods. The mayor's been down there. When it rains, we flood. My floodplain maps have all been flooded out, which is really embarrassing. Okay, when it rains, and then we have to get the vents out and we have to try to dry out our papers. It's very interesting down in the basement. We have kind of light. We've cut some holes in the wall and put some glass up so we have some indirect light. But otherwise, 9 hours of the day, I don't see daylight. We have 2 storage areas that flood completely, but that's better than the first 14 years that I got to spend upstairs. I was for 14 years next to the men's bathroom, and the walls leak. So I always thought it was just wet precipitation, but I don't know for sure. Now the assistant city engineer is there, so I let him deal with it. It just leaks down the wall, and then they come in, they put new caulk on it, and then the wall just falls, and they put new caulk on it. When you're in an old building, the buildings aren't in the best shape. Anybody that lives in the core, okay, caulk is just caulk. It just comes down. This is not the Taj Mahal. I spent 20 years in Aurora, Colorado. We went through 3 city halls. We're not building a city hall. Am I wrong? I don't think we're building a city hall. We're building one building for some parts of the department. If we were building a new city hall, the building would be much larger, much grander, much different, but we're building one aspect of it, and it's been in the CIP for years about this. Since the 17 years that I've been here, the 10 years, it's in your CIP council every year. We're always talking about it. So now whether it's not physically out there in the newspaper, if it's not one of the issues that's being discussed, it's always being discussed at your public hearings. It's always there. It's always been part of it. And city staff, if you asked us, we would say it would help us because we need space. We don't have physical space to put one more person in the basement in the Planning and Building Services Department. We don't have any space. Any questions?
Just public input, Jeff.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Welcome, folks.
Hi, I'm Bob Winkles, 3070 West Donahue Drive. Most of you probably don't know who I am, but I've had a lot of experience in design and construction over the years. I owned a firm called the Winkles Group for 30 years, and in the last 6 years I've been head of design and construction for Sanford Health. I'm here representing Bob Winkles. Nobody at Sanford Health knows I'm here. Nobody's talked to me about it. The mayor has not talked to me about it. None of the city council members have talked to me about it. Not talked to anybody at Coke Hazard or Henry Carlson about it. So here's what I think about it. You know, based on my experience in the past, I would tell you this. When Jack White was mayor, this was in the early 1990s, before the Washington Pavilion happened, that pavilion, the former high school, was thought of as a county-city joint building for space. And it didn't work out. And subsequently, the Washington Pavilion was built as an arts center. I was the owner's rep on that. That's what we did half of the time. That's what I do full-time for Sanford Health now. Later, in the late 1900s, or in 1998, 99, I did a space study for the city. And Gary Hansen, we did some analysis of both City Hall, how we'd change it, how we'd build where the parking ramp is north of City Hall, how we'd possibly lease from Don Dunham the next building north and renovate that. And none of those things made some economic sense. Those were business decisions and we backed off. We looked at this building since the Arts Center was moving to the pavilion, and I was the architect that did the town hall here. So that was after that in the early 2000s. When Dave Munson was here, we also did a feasibility study on City Hall, on renovation, all the MEP systems. We looked at lease and renovate options then. So it's been going on since the early 1990s. This is not a new deal. There's been a need. And so that's one of the points that I want to make. Another reason I'm here is because I'm really bothered by what I see on TV and I read in the Argus about all this conflict of interest. People that know nothing about what's going on in the industry are making comments about conflict of interest. Do you know, I mean, I negotiated all those contracts that I've told you about as an owner's rep. I negotiate every contract anywhere that Sanford Health is doing things with architects and contractors. And architects demand higher fees on renovated buildings. And we do those 20 to 1 in Sanford Health. 20 buildings renovated compared to 1 new. And we pay higher fees, and they need higher fees to work on those buildings. Those people are in the business to make money. If they're going to have a conflict of interest, they steer it toward where they're making money. This business of suggesting that their conflict of interest is trying to steer you in a new building is reverse of what reality is. General contractors, we force them into competition when we know all the evidence, and we can do that in new buildings. There's hardly ever change order. When we got an existing building, you're always uncovering problems, and we have to have contingencies for that. They make more money on renovated buildings. Do you think that this group, of which I know both of the firms, Koch Hazard and Henry Carlson, very experienced, very professional, high integrity, and do you think they're trying to steer you into a new building? You got blindfolds on and earmuffs. It's absolutely contrary to what reality is in the business. The last item is just on time. You know, you've already spent about $1 million more than a year ago because construction escalation has been going in the last year between 4 and 5. It's currently between 5 and 6. So if you spend another year on it, 5% of 20 million, you're going to spend another $1 million. That's my taxpayers' money. So I think you need to make some prudent decisions, and you make them in a hurry. And I'm not pushing you to new or renovated. I'm just pushing back against all the false information that has been thrown out there between the Argus and the news media and the TV. It's absolutely false. And you need to make some decisions, and hopefully in our interest as taxpayers, make them in a hurry, one way or the other, on what you're going to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Rob Oliver. I currently serve as president of Augustana. I've been there for the last 12 years, and prior to that time, I was 28 years in the banking business. Most of that here in Sioux Falls. My wife and I have called Sioux Falls home for the last 39 years. And I have, over that time, seen many, many issues come before our community and many big decisions that have had to be made. And I'm really proud of the growth and progress of this community, and I am pleased to tell as many people as I can, wherever I can, whenever that opportunity arises. I addressed the City Council tonight in favor of moving forward with the proposed new office building for our city. And I am motivated to be here tonight because I believe there are many others who also feel as I do and that who have served in leadership positions on behalf of our community. I know that this has already been said, but this project is not a new discussion. I know for some on the council this may seem very new and that there's a sense of pressure, but this project has been in the works for a long time. Indeed, the land where it is to be situated was acquired by the city by a prior administration and a prior city council in 2007. What a visionary and forward-thinking decision it was. because it was in future contemplation of this project, in future contemplation of the city's needs. As our city has grown, so has the workforce that serves our community, and their space needs are evident. I know this from talking to friends of mine that work here. Unless we believe that our city is going to begin to decline, then the need will only become more acute and the solution will become more expensive with the passage of more time. The city is a major employer. The city will need to continue to attract top talent in order to serve our citizens well. Quality services to our citizens don't just happen. They're accomplished by a group of thoughtful and hardworking professionals. These professionals are in high demand in both the public and private sectors. So the question is, how do you continually position our city to be an attractive employer and thus an efficient and effective provider of quality services to our citizens? I believe that the planning has been done over the last several years to assess those needs and to develop the proposed solution that will provide a modern, efficient workspace that maximizes city employees' ability to work collaboratively and to provide the best service to citizens. When I was a banker, I learned a lot about buildings. I financed a lot of them, mostly for our customers. And I watched them build and I learned from them. I learned from many of them who were contractors in the business and by many of the designers who designed them. I also learned by the buildings that I authorized to be built for the bank. At Augustana, I've continued to learn with the projects that I have undertaken while there. What I've learned is that small footprints with many stories are considerably less efficient than one that has a larger footprint and fewer stories. That is a simple and basic element because circulation, HVAC systems, and staff spread between different floors, between more floors, equals less efficiency. That was clearly evident in the design that we did for banking facilities, and that's why there's a very large building out there with the Wells Fargo name on it by the airport that's one story. Great big footprint, allows for a whole lot of collaboration, a whole lot of flexibility in that process. So a new building that is not encumbered by existing design limitations will make use of the latest thinking and workspace efficiencies, energy efficiency, and technology, thereby ensuring a good long-term return on investment. I do believe that the other options have been vetted properly by organizations with long track records of quality projects in our community with reputations that precede them, and further vetted by a third party who examined their work. You have the opportunity to accept the recommendation of these professionals who have thoroughly studied these options. I don't believe one ever regrets the decision to build a truly quality solution that meets the demonstrated need over a long period of time, one that will last for many years to come, and one that we can all be proud of. I know that because at Augustana, I build buildings for the long haul. I don't build anything short term. They're going to last 50 years, some of them a lot longer. The building I work in is 100 years old. As my dad used to say, do it once, do it right, you won't regret it.
President Aller, thank you, sir. Folks, is there anybody else who wants to engage the council before I turn it over to them? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is John Koch. I just want to speak on behalf of building this building. Clearly, Sioux Falls is growing. It's been growing for a long time. The needs assessment has been done. When looking at the option of remodeling a space, I just don't think that that has, a proper vision for what the future of this city is. I mean, this is one of the finest cities in one of the greatest nations that we've seen on this planet. And if we need a new administration building to step back in time and remodel a building, which, no offense to the owners, isn't that great of a space, seems to me to lack courage and conviction and optimism about the future of this city. So I would encourage you to go ahead with the plan as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Folks, last call. Welcome, sir. Sorry, last call is not appropriate. My apologies. Sir, I apologize.
No problem.
Welcome, sir. It's good to have you here.
My name is Joe Swear. I was born here and raised here. I was gone for 25 years. I returned in 1985. I always had a subscription to the Argus Leader wherever I lived. I was very proud of my city. That has been continually the case. When I came back in '89, I was happy to see the project at the falls where we used to step on railroad ties and nails and everything else to get on and swim, being developed. There's a few things that have been happening the last couple of months, and I've been watching the city council meetings on TV. I want to apologize, you usually don't appear this way, but I was sitting at home watching TV tonight, and some things that have kind of been bothering me came to the fore. There's such a thing in a city as continuum, and you either respect the people who are in front of you and who did things the right way, or you come in under revolt, which seems to be a real trend these days in our country. The new council members have just been elected. I've read and followed several of you, and I get the distinct feeling that you're running for the next office, whatever that may be. And I also witnessed some of the work you've done previous to this, and it's been very, very good. But there is such a thing as continuum. And the people that have come before you, all the way back to White, Munson, Gary, all of them have done an excellent job and have worked with good councils. To go into a used building, and I give way to the man who came before the man from Augustana. I've retrofitted probably 10 buildings in my life. I built 7 or 8 new structures. Retrofitting is always, always, always a bigger problem. It is always, always more expensive. There was also a comment made tonight from the audience about kickbacks. And I defy anyone, for anyone in public service, I defy anyone to raise those questions in public without proof. I take that as a personal affront to my history in Sioux Falls. I take it as a personal affront to the city that I respect very much. And my wife said to me, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm putting on my shoes and going down." And I apologize if I sound too rough. But this building is like every other project I've seen in this city for the last 40 years that I bore in witness, by long distance and by support and by talking to people back in my hometown. This building is way overdue. I don't know if it's been in the conversation for the last 10 years, but I grew up going to the city hall. This building is way overdue. And from what I've seen of the plans, they're very conservative. If you can build this is not Denver. I've seen that mausoleum. This is a very, very good, solidly planned building. And the contractors that you engaged in the conflict of interest, who better to look at retrofitting a competitive building than the people who have looked at the plans of a new building? So that's all I have to say. I thank you for your time. I'm going to go back to TV.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Danielle Merrill, the owner of the 300 building. I'm a math person, and I want to just go back to the simple math, if we could. 40,000 square feet of finished space for $22 million. That is $550 per square foot. I am an investor in the city of Sioux Falls. I work with building and developing properties. I do not like to spend over $100 per square foot building brand new facilities. It is ridiculous, and I would love for you to go try to get a loan from Wells Fargo or any lender for $550 per square foot. That just seems outlandish. The 300 building is a well-built building. It is older, it's 45 years old. There's a lot of law firms, there's a lot of good companies, including my own businesses in there. And I want you to know it's not a dilapidated building. Again, we have reputable people. We have people that run their business every day, including our city attorney used to be there. And I want you to know that I'm fine with you not picking the 300 building, that's irrelevant. But I want you to know that it is, for the price, I wish you would just explore. It just seems very expensive for any type of building for only 40,000 square feet. So please consider that. Thank you.
Danielle, thank you. Council?
Move to approve NYSERT.
Second, Urban.
There's been a motion to approve this item and has been seconded. Discussion. Yes, Councilor Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for everyone that spoke today. I think that it's clearly an issue that a lot of people care about. I know I've taken numerous calls and emails. I want to preface by saying this is not 300 building or a new building. This is simply to stop the clock, to continue to have those conversations. The plan isn't just to say, nope, sorry, and move on. The plan is to stop the clock, regroup, come back together with the city, the county, and the state in mind as equals to address our space needs issues throughout all entities and how we can continue to have remarkable service for our citizens that we currently already have. If you look at our citizen survey, our citizen surveys doesn't say, please increase your service. It says, fix my roads, please keep me safe. That's what it's saying. Now, when we talk about regrouping and coming back around the table, I want to share a letter that I received, and all of you have received on your desk, as well as some for the public. The letter I have in front of me is to the mayor. It says, Dear Mayor Huther, members of the City Council, this is from the State Bureau of Administration. I understand that the City of Sioux Falls is currently evaluating options for the future of expansion of government office space. Recently, city councilors have inquired as to whether the state of South Dakota would be open to discussing opportunities to collaborate with other units of government on space. The Bureau of Administration manages space needs for the executive branch of the state government through our Office of Space Management. Although the state is not actively seeking more space in Sioux Falls, we're always open to discussing opportunities to improve our space utilization. I'm not familiar with the city's current or projected space needs. However, if the city determines that it would like to explore collaboration with the state and other governmental entities, Space Manager Kevin Fridley and I would be happy to meet the appropriate city officials to discuss these options. Sincerely, Jeff T. Holden, Commissioner, Bureau of Administration. This is what it's about, friends. This is what it's about, coming together, getting all parties together. This is what it's about. It's not about us saying, hey, we're going to build this because we know that this is what we need. And hey, do you want to come along? The train has left the station for many of these. And so it's time to start over in a collaborative effort. We can do this right. We can do this together as equals. I would ask you to please stop the clock. Thank you.
Councilor Selberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there's a similar letter, of course, that you all see from Lincoln County as well, from the chairperson, Michael Poppin, saying in so many words they would like to work with us and become a part of the conversation as well. You know, as far as the issue goes, for me, I'm not sure that the 300 building is the answer, just as I'm not sure that the new administration building is or isn't the answer. It may very well be. But I think what is clear is there are still options and questions that need to be looked into. And a few of us want more time than the deadline that we inherited to look into these questions. Again, we want to continue the conversation, just take this deadline down. And yes, a delay may cost money. It will if we take it down. There's that option. But on the flip side, there's a possibility we find an option that meets our needs, these space needs, and we save millions. So I think there's a solution. We're not, again, cutting it off, saying no, and that's the end of it. We're trying to keep talking it out. I believe there is a solution, and I think we'll find it in due time, and I hope soon. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Councilor Mbach.
You know, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to everyone. I really appreciate it when we get new voices and new faces here and people that have different experiences that can inform our decisions. And I've had lots of conversations, as many of my colleagues have had. I absolutely disagree with the team when we talk about the idea of collaboration. The two counties and the city working together is really a much larger issue than whether we build this building or not. We need to think bigger than this one building. You know, our city charter lays out a plan for part-time council that is intended to truly represent our community. And look at all of us. We cover the gamut from small business owners to teachers and retired executives. We're a great cross-section of this community. But of this group, I think I'm the only person who currently spends 40-plus hours a week in a traditional large office setting. I've spent more than 8 years in what I affectionately call a cube farm. Rows and rows of cubicles full of my coworkers. Our offices were recently moved from a closed-in, dark space to a new building, which fortunately the walls weren't leaking, Jeff, to an open floor plan and with direct access to large windows. In the old space, there was dark paint on the walls. The tall, dark cubes blocked natural light, and the windows were reserved for people far enough up the food chain to deserve an office along the outside walls. That office style was something of a soul-sucking experience, I gotta tell you. It's the kind of experience that new young employees avoid. This new administrative building is a government office building. It is a cube farm, yes, but it is planned with 3 key facts in mind. 1, we have city employees in too many different locations. Our citizens deserve better service in a one-stop shop. Number 2, this region is experiencing less than 3% unemployment at this point, 2.1% according to Tracy this afternoon. And number 3, there's fierce competition for every single job applicant. As much as a better work environment is great for our current city staff, I'm really not as concerned about these folks that are working for us now. I am much more concerned about those people who are coming after them, or that we hope that they're going to come after them. I've heard council members and citizens alike say that we need to contract out less of our work and assign more things like special engineering projects to our new city staff, to our own city staff. And I think that's a great idea, but where do you think those super specialized staff members are going to spend their work days, 40, 45, 50 hours a week? Think about it. What you're telling me is you want to hire top-notch young employees right out of high-cost graduate school. But then you're going to tell them, welcome to the team. Your office is in a closet next to an 80-year-old garage. And the people you're assigned to collaborate with are at desks upstairs or down the street or wherever. We kind of lost track of that. But they're not conveniently located in the cube right next to you. I know it's difficult to say you voted for a project that required more debt for the city. I know that's hard. I'm not saying this is some sort of easy win that we're just going to pluck out of the air. But what I am saying is that we are the city's current elected leaders. If we don't do this, who will? You know, and if we don't do it now, when will we do it? And how many more millions are we going to lose doing this? As much as I've heard against this building plan, and I've heard relatively little, honestly, I've heard equal amounts of feedback about moving the city forward and keeping up with the demands of this challenging new economy. This is the right thing to do to provide an even higher level of city services. And you know it's the right thing for city employees now and long into the future. I encourage you to vote no on this continued delay of this important project. Thank you.
Councilor Staley.
I also have a letter from the Minnehaha County Commissioners to the City Council and Mayor. The Minnehaha County Commission would welcome the opportunity to meet with you, Lincoln County Commissioners, and the state of South Dakota to address our space needs. We believe that working together, we can solve our space needs and save tax dollars. From City Heiberger, their chair. I support this ordinance, And I will tell you that I have heard from a lot of people in our community, and in fact, I got a phone call last night from Gary Hansen calling me about his opinion on this building. I feel that we need some breathing space so we can make the best decision possible for the taxpayers while working for the quality workforce efficiency in city government. And it's kind of coming down, as we hear this, to the future employees. We have heard that this new building is going to house initially 90 to 100 employees. And what I would like to say is I think I would like to step back, and I think we should do an employee efficiency study. Let's make sure that we're making the best use out of every employee in every department before we move forward. It comes down to a debate about growing government. And I think our citizens want to see efficiency. They also want to see good working environments for everyone. None of us want to see you living in a dungeon or working in a dungeon. But I think there are options out there. But right now, the issue for me is that we're in a time constraint. We've got an October 1st deadline. And I didn't like coming into office with that hanging over around my head, around my neck. And I think we have a right to break out of that so that we can look with ease at all the options available. So that is why I am supporting this ordinance.
Thank you. Councilor Neisert.
Let's be clear. We have time to do this right. Our space needs are not urgent. We are not bursting at the seams. We are not out of space. We need to stop the clock, start over, and bring our partners to the table. A cautious approach is prudent while we are in a period of uncertainty. Our sales tax growth is slowing and is below projections. We have an archive building commitment we may need to fulfill soon. The indoor pool is coming online, and we don't know what its operating costs are going to be. A repeal is not a permanent decision. It just stops the clock. It allows us to continue the conversation. It allows us time to work with our partners. It gives us the fresh start that we need. There is a better way forward. Let's start over with all of our partners, both counties in the state, from the very beginning, all parties at the table, working on our space needs together, with the goal to save taxpayer dollars, improve service to citizens, and be a model to the rest of the state. Let's work together to find a plan that unifies and has the support of the administration, the entire council, and the citizens. We have one chance to do this right. Let's think big. Our partners are ready. The citizens are ready. Tonight, let's say with one clear voice that we are too. Vote yes on repeal. Thank you.
Councilor Kiley.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to, and I know that this conversation really isn't about the 300 building, but I feel that compelled to just correct some information about the square footage of the administration building, which is not proposed. It has been passed by previous city council. But anyway, the basement or parking area, which is very functional because it also houses the mechanical equipment needed for the building, is 19,000 square feet. The first floor, which will be finished, is 20,000. The second floor, which will be finished, is another 20,000. And then we have a third floor that, yes, initially will be unfinished, but it'll allow for immediate space to grow into. That's an additional 20,000. So just right there, there's 79,000 square feet of building that we are constructing, with a future fourth floor with an additional 20,000 square feet, which would be able to meet even further into the future the needs of this city. As a result of an opinion that had been sent to all of us council members, I drafted my own opinion, which I had sent back, and I would like to share that with the full council and with members here in the audience as well as the people at home. But the City of Sioux Falls currently is debating the need for and timing of a new city administration building proposed to be built in downtown Sioux Falls. The city certainly needs the space now, and the need is going to increase as we continue to grow at the rapid rate of more than 3,000 additional citizens per year. Adding 45,000 to 50,000 citizens as we have in the past 15 years with no end of the growth in sight logically will require additional city staff members to meet the needs of a growing community. Technology alone cannot accommodate the fast growth our wonderful city is experiencing without the addition of personnel. Technology can add to efficiencies, but it cannot perform all tasks required in an effective city government. You still need people to use the technology, and my experience is most people prefer to work with humans, not automated systems or programs. Currently, the city has locked in prices for the cost to build the new city administration building. The prices have been locked in. But the guaranteed prices will be expired if this project is stopped now. Delay in building will simply pass the buck to future city councils with the likelihood of the cost of building escalating in the millions, thus increasing the debt our city will be forced to carry. In addition to the inflation of construction costs, the city will continue to spend money on lease space. Currently, rent for the 100 South Dakota Avenue building costs taxpayers $120,000 per year, and rent costs are bound to increase as the need for space increases and the cost of leasing escalates along with the cost of everything else. When you lease, you build equity for a landlord, not for you. In this case, we are not building equity for the city, and certainly not the citizens of Sioux Falls. The new city administration building will cost $21.9 million to construct. That amount includes final design, construction, furnishing the building, professional fees, contingency, Dakota Avenue parking improvements at a cost of $150,000 and $300,000 for improvements to Van Epp Park. Once again, all of those are included in the overall cost of $21.9. The proposed building will include the ability to add a future fourth floor, as I've already mentioned, which will not only meet our needs today, but also meet the needs of the city for the next 50 years and beyond. The best part, it will be constructed at today's costs, not at future inflated costs. Some city councilors desire to slow things down and have additional conversation. Let me assure you, those conversations have been taking place since 2007. Space needs assessments were conducted by the city in 2007 and 2012. Alternatives to building new have been researched from 2012 to present, with the most recent alternative research being the 300 North Dakota Avenue building. Other buildings researched in the past include First Dakota building at 9th and Main, DM&E building at 8th and Phillips, the 100 South Dakota building we are currently leasing, buildings at 120 and 122 South Phillips Avenue, the Communication Services for the Deaf campus, and the former Joe Foss School on North Cliff. Additionally, Councilors Rolfing, Anderson Jr., and I joined the Administrative Building Advisory Team back in March of 2015, and the project was presented to the entire City Council in April of 2015, with the project funding approved in April of 16. Rather than slowing things down, we need to continue on the path we elected to take this past April after many years of vetting the issue. The horse is appropriately in front of the cart, and the City of Sioux Falls has done our due diligence for many years with a heavy dose of due diligence in the past 2 years. Furthermore, we should not be considering stopping this sensible and needed project. We have looked at all directions, and now the direction we should be looking long and hard at is right in front of us. It is time to build the city administration building. It's inevitable that we're going to need this building. There's already been a demonstrated considerable need. We are bursting at the seams. And we've been leasing since 2013. and will continue to lease and spend money on buildings that do not belong to us. We've vetted many options. As I've mentioned, don't saddle future councils and the citizens of Sioux Falls with greater debt because of a delay. And I truly mean the citizens of Sioux Falls. As an individual that was born and raised in this great city, I greatly benefited from its services as a child. I benefited from its services as a young parent raising 3 children in this city. And I realized that all those services, yes, they were delivered by people in the field, but the decisions were made by individuals in an administration building. In an administration building that was built back in the 1930s, and we haven't built a new administration building since that time. So there is no need to pause. We've done our due diligence, and I urge my colleagues to vote no, as I remind you to move forward with the administration building. It requires a no vote this evening, and I urge my colleagues to vote no on this item. Thank you, Mayor.
Council Chair Rolfing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Boy, we've heard a lot tonight, haven't we? A lot from people who think we're spending too much money or going to. Some from people who think we need to, that we're putting up a Taj Mahal, which it isn't. I think when you get right down to it, if you look at it, the need is evident. We've had the studies, we've had everything there going. The employees need a place to work. If you don't think they do, talk to Mr. Schmidt about where he works. You wouldn't put up with that if you were an employee. We need to work to assure that we get good candidates for the openings that we have. We're going to grow. These letters that we received in a packet here today was real interesting that these were signed today or very close to today. One of them, then I got a call on saying, what's about this letter? What do you need it for? I didn't know anything about it, found out what was going on. Let me assure you all that these people have been contacted a year ago in hopes that we could collaborate and do some of this together. The state wrote back and said, as it says here, we have no interest right now, we have no need. However, if any of these people do have a need, we do have a 3rd floor that we can finish out for them. It's been thought of. It's been thought of. Time is now. Council administration has looked far enough ahead. We've taken advantage of opportunities offered. We would not be having to make such tough decision right now if other people ahead of us had taken on this responsibility that we're looking at tonight. You know, sometimes it's hard to make a decision when some people feel there's no need or no hurry or no money. But you know what? That's not the case here. The need is evident. We need the building. And we're taking on debt. We're not taking on debt that we can handle, and we're not scaling down the building project. Excuse me. But sometimes the right thing to do may not be the popular thing to do. Let me repeat that. Sometimes the right thing to do may not be the popular thing to do, but we need to do the right thing here. We need to do it now. I'm not going to go through all this because it's all been said, but I will say that my fellow councilors, it's time to step up, make the correct decision for our fine city, and vote to move this project forward so that our city can continue to prosper and we can provide the needed services our constituents want and what they deserve. Thank you.
Any further comments? David, can I ask you to please explain to the council what a yes vote means and what a no vote means?
Yes vote on this proposed ordinance would repeal the existing ordinance which authorized the sale of sales tax revenue bonds to fund the design and construction of the new city administration building. A no vote would leave the existing ordinance authorizing the bond sale in place, and the project could proceed.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley? Yes. Erickson? Erpenbach?
No.
Kiley?
No.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
No.
Selberg?
Yes.
That is passed 5-3. Item 41.
Item 41, set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 41. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 810 South 10th Avenue from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District, petition number 4722-2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
Jason Bieber representing Planning and Building Services. This is an application by Dan Parker. It is located at the northeast corner of South 10th Avenue and East 16th Street. It's roughly 0.13 acres, a currently vacant lot. The proposal is to construct a single-family home on this small lot.
Council?
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Selberg.
It's been a motion.
I'm sorry. Move for a second reading to be held on August 2nd at 7 p.m.
Councilor Rolfing has made a motion to set the date of hearing, seconded by Councilor Kiley. No discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley? Yes. Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 42.
Item 42, set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 42, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West 5th Street and east of North Marion Road from the O Office District to the CN Conservation District, petition number 4746-2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant here is Sayre Associates. The owner is Legacy LLP. It is located at the southeast corner of West 5th Street and North Marion Road. It's roughly 1.3 acres, and the purpose of this rezoning is to rezone it for some more areas for on-site detention.
Council?
Move to set the second hearing or second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd.
Second, Erpenbach.
That has been seconded as well. If no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 43.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 43, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 715 to 721 West 13th Street from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District, petition number 4846-2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is an application by the City of Sioux Falls Planning Department. It is a city-initiated rezoning. It is located at 715 through 728 West 13th Street. It's roughly 3 parcels that currently contain a residential home that does have more than 1 unit. The proposal is to rezone this to the RT2 district. This district does allow these homes that have been converted to more than 1 unit.
Council?
Move to set the date of hearing, Erpenbach.
Second, Erickson.
There's been a motion to set the date of hearing. It has been seconded. No discussion. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley? Yes. Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 44.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 44, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 301 South Prairie Avenue from the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District to the LW Live Work District, petition number 4847-2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is also an application by the Planning Department. It's located at 301 South Prairie Avenue. The house currently does contain an office on the main floor and also an apartment on the second floor. The Planning Department is proposing to rezone this to the Live Work District, and this would allow that office on the main floor as well as a residential unit above it.
Move to set second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd.
Second, Erickson.
It's been a motion to set that date of hearing and has been seconded. If no discussion on roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
With that, it's passed 8-0. Item 45.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 45. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 421 West 7th Street from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the S1 General Institutional District, petition number 4848-2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is, once again, a city-initiated rezoning by the Planning Department. As you can see, it's located just west of Minnesota Avenue, kind of west of our Dakota Avenue parking ramp. It currently contains the Family Connection business, which is a temporary housing for families with loved ones in prison. This proposed S1 institutional district will allow them to continue to operate business as they have been doing for many years.
Council?
Move to set the date of hearing. Erpenbach.
Second, Erickson.
Been a motion to set that date of hearing and has been seconded. No discussion on roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley? Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 46.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 46. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 1215 East 28th Street from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District. Petition number 4849-2016 and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is once again another city-initiated rezoning. It's located one block east of Cliff Avenue on 28th Street. It currently contains a house with 2 units. Therefore, we're proposing to rezone it to the RD1 district that will allow them to continue to use the duplex as they have.
Move to set second reading on August 2nd, 2016.
Been a motion to set that second reading and has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley? Yes. Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 47.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 47. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 724 East 8th Street from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District, petition number 4850-2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is once again a city-initiated rezoning. It's located east of downtown on A Street. It is the old janitor closet building. A portion of it was zoned RT1 when Shape Places became effective, and as you can see by the aerial, it contains the warehouse of the old janitor closet building. So we are correcting that to make it all same zoning district.
Move to set the date of hearing. Erpenbach.
Second, Selberg.
Been a motion to set that second reading has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 48.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 48. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 3301 North Aurora Circle from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District. Petition number 4851-2016 and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
This is our final city-initiated rezoning of the night here. This is 3301 North Aurora Circle, just east on North Marion Road. It's the last vacant lot of this development. It had a previous conditional use under the old ordinance. Therefore, we are rezoning this to the RD1 to allow them to construct the last twin home in this development.
Council?
Move to set second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd.
Second, Erpenbach.
Been a motion to set that date of hearing and has been seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yep.
Selberg.
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 49.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 49, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 5000 West 26th Street from the O Office District to the C3 Commercial Community District, petition number 4867-2016, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant here is Paul Reynolds. The owner is St. Michael's Parish. Is located just to the northeast of the Hy-Vee there on 26 and Marion. It's roughly 0.06 acres. We've seen this project quite a bit. It's the proposed tires store. As they are getting farther along in design and development, they needed an additional 10 feet to the west, so they are coming back to rezone that 10-foot by 317-foot strip to incorporate it as part of their new store and parking lot.
Council?
Move to set the date of hearing for August 2nd.
Second, Erickson.
A motion to set that date of hearing. It has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 50.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 50, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 1800 West 41st Street from the RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District. Petition number 4870-2016 and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 7-1.
The applicant and owner here is Bruce Narrison with Will City Auto. It's located at that northwest corner of 41st and Glendale Avenue. As you can see, most of it is currently the location of their existing Will City Auto. The purpose of this rezoning is Will City Auto is looking at constructing a new office building. They're proposing to tear down two houses, both to the north, and then redevelop the lot for their proposed building and additional display and employee parking spaces. As you can see on the site plan, they will be required the level C buffer yard on the north and along the east side.
Thanks, Jason.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Erickson?
I just have a question in regards to any neighborhood feedback in regards to this particular item. I know that we've talked about as we creep into the neighborhood, we've seen it over time. And so I'm curious if there's any neighborhood feedback, and same old question, how far do we intend to go into the neighborhood?
Good question. We did have a lady that owns the house just to the north, kind of that northwest house there. She particularly didn't have any concerns, as you can see on there, concerns with redevelopment. Her only concern was that they were going to kind of move the fence actually north farther. She had some concerns about her existing pool to make it still in compliance, but she did not have any issues with the redevelopment of the whole parcel. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Erpenbach?
Thanks, Jason. Can you talk about, will this be required to have a neighborhood meeting? I mean, this person just kind of randomly showed up and said, hey, I have a question. Will there be a neighborhood meeting for this one?
They already had a neighborhood meeting, the applicant did.
Okay.
We usually suggest, especially with ones where they're creeping into the neighborhood, we usually suggest that they have one. I don't think they had many people show up, and there wasn't any opposition. We didn't receive any calls or just that one.
A lot of rentals around there? Must be.
I'm not sure.
Would we, I know it's repetitive, but again, we have new council members. When this one comes to second reading, can we look at that map again of 41st Street and just compare where those lines are for commercial and all of that? And there it is. Wow,
Yep,
that was magical.
we made this map. This one's a little bit different. I don't know if we really want to get into it. I'll go real quick through it. We did have two areas of this rezoning. Area 1 is an area that's already being utilized by Will City Motors. However, it was misidentified as part of Shade Places. So we are recommending approval of Area 1 because it's been utilized as a motor vehicle area since 2011. The area that staff has major concerns with is the Area 2 that's shown in red. And our staff report was a little different this time, but we did recommend denial of Area 2 with that creep. We're just trying to continue to be consistent with our recommendations. So that's kind of the staff report that we had done.
Good. Thank you, Jason. I would move approval of, or setting the second reading.
Councilor Buck, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Vice Chair Kiley. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 51.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 51. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at 2101 South Euclid Avenue from the RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District. Petition number 4871-2016 and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant and owner here is Agape Construction. It is at that southwest corner of Euclid and West 29th Street. It's roughly 0.1 acres, so a relatively small lot. The request by the applicant is to construct a single-family home on this lot that's on a corner, and it makes it difficult to construct with the current RS zoning district.
Jason, thank you. Council?
Set reading, I move to set reading on second reading for August 2nd, 2016.
Second.
That has been seconded as well. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Item 52.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 52. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota rezoning property at West 24th Street and South Spring Avenue, O Office District to the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District. Petition number 4873-2016 and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval 8-0.
The applicant and owner here is BHI Construction. It's roughly 0.80 acres in size. The purpose of this rezoning is they are looking at raising the existing building that is adjacent to South Minnesota Avenue. They are looking at constructing a new fast food chicken restaurant on the east side of the lot. And then the existing park area on the west side of the lot, they are looking at just rehabbing it and restriping it for the new fast food restaurant.
Council?
Move to set second hearing for August 2nd.
Second.
Thank you. That motion has been made, has been seconded. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kiley?
Yes.
Nitzert?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 8-0. Thank you. Item 53.
Set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016 at 7 p.m. for item 53. An ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances for Chapter 156, Floodplain Management, and 157 Subdivision Ordinance.
Jeffrey Schmidt from the Planning and Zoning Department. I'm surprised that the media left. This is such a big issue. It's huge. Back in 2008, I was having the opportunity to become your floodplain administrator. So for the last 8 years, we have stopped growth and development on the west side of Sioux Falls. 2,600 properties are in the floodplain. And this is the same presentation I gave at informational, so I'll whip through it pretty quickly. But they're a natural progression. The national flood, we have floods all the time. I'm sure everybody else was like me up last night early this morning when the rains came through. It's always something that we have to deal with in Sioux Falls. The timeline that I showed you, informational, only thing I'm changing is what's up there in red. We thought it was going to be in July. Now September of 2016, we'll get the letter of final determination. Now July 19th, I'm here. March of 2017, we think we'll have the effective date. Then we also have to deal with the southwest part of Sioux Falls. Existing ordinance, the purpose of the ordinance, folks, is to protect life and safety, minimize expenditures, minimize the need. We are doing this floodplain ordinance to protect the life and safety of everybody within the City of Sioux Falls. That's why, again, I'm surprised the media is not here, because everything that you do when adopting this ordinance is to protect the property owners that are out there. The existing ordinance, how you do that is you restrict and prohibit people from building where they're not supposed to. You control filling, you prevent unregulated construction. So again, you don't have people like this guy on the west side, which the police will and fire department know they drive on 41st Street when they're not supposed to. The subdivision design standards look at floodplains are not static. Everything I've done to change the amendments this time are because you understand that floodplains always change. They're always going to expand, they're going to contract, they're not always going to be remaining as they are today. This is the 1969 flood up in the northwest part of town, but we've had significant floods. So based upon our history, our community rating system, the existing ordinance, I've adopted some amendments. We're being consistent. We've changed some of the definitions. We've put them in the floodplain ordinance. We're doing things that are required by FEMA. Everything is really required by FEMA, but I've underlined what's really being changed. So we're going to date it as the new effective maps are coming into place. We're going to be requiring hydraulic and hydrology analysis in areas so that we know really what the flood risks are, so that you don't have property owners moving into areas and then coming back and saying, why didn't anybody tell me? We will know. We're going to reduce the ability to have people go into an area and then ask for a variance and say, but I don't want to build to the standard. We're going to basically eliminate that ability to do that. We're going to require a $50 fee when they're in the floodplain and they come in to request a floodplain development application. This is the standard that we will have when they have to do a hydraulic and hydrology analysis. They will have to look at, in one there, no development shall. If they're going to do development, they shall not obstruct the flow, and B, they shall not cause an increase in that area. Basically, what happens now is they go in there and they go, well, my property's fine. Yeah, but they cause it to increase on everybody else's property. They will no longer be able to do that. And then two, the floodplain administrator, I will deny permits if they do that. Specific standards, A, we're just basically, we've already required that in the building code, looking at the minimum grade elevation. So we're requiring that in the floodplain ordinance. Specific standards for residential construction. This is already our policy. If someone comes in that first section and they request a LOMAR F, which is a letter of map revision fill, if they go into a floodplain and they fill it, I require them to do those things in the bottom. They have to give me their lowest floor elevation, their lowest ground elevation, and their base flood elevations. That's my policy. I'm putting it in law. So then in a subdivision ordinance, the blue is what's required already or going to be required in engineering design standards. And then 2 and 3, residential building lots shall be provided with adequate building area so that, again, these building lots don't flood. And then we don't want streets and sidewalks also to be increasing the flood levels. In engineering design standards with Lance Weatherly, he's going to be doing this standard. This is new because it's all underlined. You can see the floodplain area in the middle. That's what's always been regulated. This is new. What happens if someone goes 6 inches? They go just outside of the floodplain. Remember, they're not static. Shouldn't we look at areas that are just outside the floodplain and try to protect those property owners also? So on the right-hand side, you see that I'm saying if you're within 100 feet, I want to look at your property. Or on the left-hand side, if you're within a 10-foot increase or decrease of a floodplain, I'm looking at your property also. So I'm not just going to let you build right next to the floodplain and pretend like you're never going to have a flood risk. I'm going to always be looking at what the restrictions are and how much risk you're going to have to that property. This one's a housekeeping measure. Earlier in the ordinance, we said that floodproofing was not allowed, but then in the ordinance, we say floodproofing is allowed. So I corrected it and put it all in one section that floodproofing is allowed as long as you do these things. And I think in conclusion, I went back and said, floodplain management, remember, we're trying to protect human life, minimize expenditures, minimize the need. And if there's any questions or comments, this was first reading.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Council, yes, Councilor Everson.
I do have one question. We talked a little bit last time about the hydraulics. Yes, study.
H&H.
Thank you. That's easier for me to
yes,
remember.
Yes, me too.
Is that the study that will determine if the city needs to purchase any houses or remove any houses or do anything along those lines? I know there's been a little bit of talk about that.
No.
One area.
These are, if a new development comes into an area, we're going to do the H&H preventatively. So we won't have to buy houses. But if they come into a new subdivision, that houses aren't going to be built, but there's basically, they're saying they're going to build houses in these areas, we're going to do the H&H beforehand, so they can't say, we're going to put houses here, and then we're dealing with the problems afterwards.
Right.
We're going to analyze it and prove that they didn't do it too much of a risk.
Right. So what's the name of the study that was, I know that there was a study that was
Oh, in the
talked
southwest part of town. Yeah, there we did an H&H after the fact to find out what the hydraulics and hydrology were. And that's basically, hydraulics and hydrology is how much flow and at what velocity. So what's the rise and how much force is going through there.
And is that study done yet or no?
Yes, it's done. We completed that study in the southwest part of town, 69th, 57th, Marion Road, Galway, Grinnell. We completed that basically in spring of 2015. We presented it to the neighbors in December of 2015, and then in May of 2016, we were out there again to the property owners. Of the 300 property owners that we think were in the floodplain, we got all but 10 out of the floodplain.
All right. So I know there's been talk, though, of having a couple that are in right next door to it.
Correct. We're still working on those.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilor Neitzer.
First of all, I want to thank you for codifying some of these policies that you have. That's a good thing. And also for the Board of Adjustment change. I mean, having been on the Board of Adjustment, you know the problems we got into with granting of
variances,
floodplain variances. So that's a good thing. So as far as the permit fee goes, so when somebody comes in to get a building permit, are you looking at every single building permit to see if they're in the special flood hazard area, or is that only certain times? How does that work?
Currently, I look at every single building permit, but it's really whether or not they're in a special flood hazard area or not. So as the floodplain administrator, I have to look at every single one, but the techs don't necessarily look at whether they're in the special flood hazard area or not. I have to go out there and regulate and then make the determination if they're in or not.
And if they're not in, then
they don't.
None of this applies.
Correct.
There's no permit fees. They don't have to bring in extra forms. It's just.
Correct. Then you're not regulated by this. And again, that's the real benefit of this new map, because we're going to go from the 2,500, 2,600 properties down to about 800. It's going to be a significantly lower number of properties that hopefully I'll have to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Council, do we have a motion here?
We don't.
Councilors?
Move to set a date of hearings.
No, we don't need, this is a.
I know it is.
Setting a date.
Set a.
We do?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Council Vice Chair would like to set that date of hearing. Thank you.
As it was read originally.
Thank you.
Second, Erickson.
Councilor Erickson would like to second that. A roll call vote, please.
Council Member Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That is passed 8-0. Item 54.
A resolution establishing the City of Sioux Falls provisional legislative priorities for the 2017 state legislative session.
Good evening. Jim David, Legislative Operations Manager for the City Council. For your consideration tonight is a resolution adopting your provisional or interim legislative priorities for the 2017 legislative session. This resolution is intended to provide guidance at the Municipal League's Policy Committee meeting scheduled in mid-August. The policy committees are responsible for drafting the Municipal League's policy or statements of policy, which will guide their lobbying effort during the 2017 session. Currently, the provisional priorities are as follows. The first priority speaks to local control and the flexibility to address local issues locally. Number 2 supports reforming the legal publication statute to allow alternatives options for all local government. Number 3 supports protection of municipal government's limited sources of revenue, such as sales tax and others. The next item supports what's commonly referred to as workforce or affordable housing. And number 5 supports legislation allowing counties to tax alcohol, modeled after the city's entertainment tax, but limited to alcoholic beverages. Number 6 is a general statement supporting cooperative activities between counties and cities. Number 7 supports greater local control and flexibility for counties when it comes to budgeting. In 2012, for number 8, 2012, the legislature increased the surcharge from 75 cents to $1.25. This was the first increase since 1989, but it was sunset for 2018, so this provision supports either repealing that sunset or extending out that repeal date. So I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, sir. Folks, did anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? Councilors?
Move to approve Erickson.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Erickson's made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. Councilor Neisert?
Jim, could you please put number 1 back on the board?
Yes.
I just want to say in regards to number 1, I've always had a problem with number 1 because although I'm for local control, I don't think it should be easy to tax and spend. And so I don't necessarily mind having my hands tied a little bit in that regard. Can you go to number 3? Yeah. That's the only other one that I have in a bit of an issue with. I've always been pretty vocal that I don't think we have a revenue problem, we have an allocation problem, and I've always found this to be pretty mercenary to our county partners, and so I just don't like the spirit of this one when it comes to when we're talking about cooperation. So I just wanted to throw those two out there. Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes.
Neitzer?
No.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
That has passed 7-1. Thank you. Council, any other business? Motion to adjourn, please.
So move.
Been a motion to adjourn. This meeting has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Falls. Make it a great night.